Hello everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I'm going to be talking about all of my most anticipated releases for the fall of 2022. So this covers September, October, and November. I have quite a few, but September is definitely the heaviest month release-wise. It is always a popular release month anyway, so I have quite a few to talk about, so let's get on into it. So the first book I have to talk about is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Now I believe this one is just fantasy. Goodreads does say fantasy and horror, but I'm thinking that it says horror just because it's Stephen King. But I know that this one follows a 17-year-old boy named Charlie who inherits keys to a parallel world where good and evil are at war. That's all I know, that's all I need to know. So I am currently reading Stephen King's books in publication order, so it definitely will be a very long time before I get to Fairy Tale, but nonetheless I'm still excited to read it even if it does take me a while to get to it. And this one comes out September 6th. The next book on this list is Angelica, Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. Now, this is a romance book, and Sally Thorne wrote The Hating Game and Second First Impressions, which are some of my favorite books of all time. So of course, as soon as I saw another Sally Thorne book, I had to add it to this list. So as you might be able to tell from the title, this is kind of like a Frankenstein retelling. So we follow Angelica Frankenstein, and her brother is Victor Frankenstein, and she actually helped with the famous experiment that he conducted. And since everyone in her family is really good at finding love except for herself, she decides to take it upon herself to do her own experiment and resurrect a man, and hopefully they fall in love. This sounds so funny already and so much fun. I love Sally Thorne, I love her romances, and I love her writing, and I just feel like this one is going to be another fun time. So this next book is actually a young adult horror, and that is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Now this is a very popular author, but I have never read from her before, and this is the first book that I am like really interested in, so this will probably be my first book from her. And all I need to know about this book is that it is a Carrie retelling. I have seen some YouTubers who had an arc read this early, and it sounds almost identical to Carrie. And like I said, Carrie is a Stephen King book. I've been reading his books. Carrie was my first Stephen King book, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of hesitant because I don't want it to be an exact copy, but I'm excited nonetheless. I am always excited to see more horror books, especially young adult horror. And this one also comes out September 6th. The last book that comes out September 6th is BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural, 101 Tales of Hauntings, Demons, and the Paranormal. Now, if you know BuzzFeed Unsolved, this book is by Ryan and Shane. This is a non-fiction book all about demons and spooky stuff and supernatural. I love BuzzFeed Unsolved, and BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural is actually my favorite one, and so I'm so excited that they're coming out with this book. I just feel like it's going to be so funny. I feel like their humor is going to come across really well in the book because they're just really funny people, and I am very excited for this book. The next book is Eternally Yours, and this is a young adult paranormal anthology, and this is edited by Patricia Caldwell. Now this has a lot of really big authors in it, and like I said, it is a paranormal YA. I believe that it's also romance, and so we have vampires and werewolves and witches, and of course vampires are my big buzzword here, so I really wanted to get to this just because it has vampires in it. So there are a lot of authors in this anthology that I have read from before, but there are two that I'm really looking forward to reading more from, and that is Kendara Blake and Kat Cho, as well as so many other authors that are big that I haven't read from, but I'm very excited to get into some of their writing, and this one comes out September 20th. The next book is Miss Peregrine's Museum of Wonders by Ransom Riggs. I love the Miss Peregrine series so very much, and I recently finished it early this year, and this is a companion guide that is actually written by Miss Peregrine herself. I just think it'll be a really fun addition, and I have seen glimpses of the inside of this book, and it is just so beautiful. And this book comes out September 27th. The next book is a young adult fantasy book, and I know I keep talking about how I'm not a fantasy reader, but yet I see these beautiful covers and I just add them to my list because I am so intrigued just based on their cover. So this next one is called Last of the Talons by Sophie Kim, and this actually follows an 18-year-old girl who is the last of the Talon clan, and she is basically turned into a war weapon for a crime lord. So I think it's interesting that this is young adult, but it does follow an 18-year-old, so I'm hoping it reads a little bit older. Also, like I said, the cover is beautiful, and that is the main reason I put this on here. I also really have enjoyed Asian-inspired fantasy, and so I tend to pick that fantasy up more often than other fantasy. So we will see. This is the first in the series. I'm excited for it. And Last of the Talons comes out September 27th. The last September release I have is The Maze Cutter by James Dashner. Now this is a part of the Maze Runner series, and I know a lot of people are probably like, just stop it, just like be done with it, but I will read any Maze Runner book that comes out. I love this world so much, and it is not like my favorite dystopian, it is not the best series, but I just have such strong feelings for it and I really love it. So this book actually takes place 73 years after the death cure, so I'm really interested to see what everyone's up to, what the world looks like, and I definitely will be reading it, hopefully as soon as it comes out. And this one also comes out September 27th. So now we are on to the October releases, and how fitting to start out with a horror book. And the first one I have to talk about is Halloween Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. This is actually the sequel to Camp Slaughter, which I read for Summerween, and I loved it so much. It is a slasher set in a cabin. There's a killer that just kills a bunch of people. He's a serial killer. I really enjoyed it, and so I am definitely looking forward to the sequel. It comes out October 11th. The next book I'm looking forward to is Layla and the Blue Fox by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. Now, I read Julie and the Shark by this author earlier this year, and it is one of my favorite books of all time, so now I'm going to read anything this author comes out with. And this is a middle grade book, and we actually follow a fox on a very long journey. So this book is actually based on a true story about a fox who walked from Norway to Canada in 76 days. That's interesting. I have never heard that before, and I'm really interested in looking it up and also reading this book and seeing how this story like relates to that story as well. I am very much looking forward to more beautiful writing and more beautiful illustrations. This book comes out October 13th. The next book I'm looking forward to is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us, and It Ends With Us is my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I really, really love it. Now, I'm going to say these books are contemporary. People classify them as romance, but I don't consider them romance. They have strong triggers for domestic abuse, so they're more contemporary about your life. And this is a sequel, and it follows Atlas, that's all I can really say about it. But I'm really looking forward to seeing where these characters are now and how their story continued. And this one comes out October 18th. The last two books actually come out on the same day, and they kind of go hand in hand, and that is Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton and The Alan Rickman Diaries by Alan Rickman. Now, Beyond the Wand is, I believe, like a memoir about Tom Felton. I believe he talks about his time on Harry Potter, and I'm not sure if he goes into like his time after Harry Potter, but I imagine he does. And I love Tom Felton. I have met him. He is very kind, very amazing. He is an incredible actor, and I just cannot wait to read his memoir. On the other side of things, Alan Rickman Diaries, this is going to make me bawl. Like, I already know Alan Rickman is such a special figure in my life since I was little. He is in my favorite musical of all time, Sweeney Todd. He is in one of my favorite movies of all time, that's a comedy, Galaxy Quest, and of course he played Severus Snape. So I just feel like I am going to bawl my eyes out, and both of these books actually come out October 18th, and I just cannot wait to get to both of them. And the title for the Alan Rickman Diaries is actually called Madly Deeply, and I just feel like that's already so beautiful. Like, I'm gonna be so emotional. And for the November releases, I actually only have one book to talk about, and that is Blood Marked by Tracy Deonn. This is the sequel to Legendborn, which is a story about Arthurian legend, and it follows a girl who goes to an early college program, and she kind of dives headfirst into the mythology of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It is kind of confusing, but I did have a good time reading the first one, and so I am looking forward to the sequel as well. And this book comes out November 8th. So those are all of my anticipated releases for the fall. Now, these are the dates, the release dates as of right now. Things can always change in publishing, and I feel like there are going to be more books that pop up that I am excited about, but as of right now, this is my list. Let me know the books that you're excited to read that are coming out this fall. I would love to know and just widen my horizons and get even more on this list. But that is it for this video. If you have made it this far, go ahead and leave the pencil emoji because that's the first thing that popped into my head. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!